Welcome to the Discovery Doc podcast, where we advocate for optimal wellness and reducing everyday toxic loads, no matter where life takes you. I'm Dr. Cece, doctor in nursing practice, self-proclaimed toxin tamer, and a crunchy mama.
I'm Anna Kate, a medical mystery overachiever and your discovery liaison. Join us on this exciting journey as we explore the world of holistic health, cutting-edge research, and practical solutions for a healthier life. Together, we'll navigate through the complexities of wellness, sharing valuable insights and expert advice.
Tune in to the Discovery Doc podcast. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and discover a whole new way of looking at your health.
Welcome back to the Discovery Doc podcast. I'm here with your host,
Dr. Cece, functional medicine nurse practitioner, self-proclaimed toxin tamer, and crunchy mama of soon to be 4, crazy, wild, and my co-host.
I'm Anna Kate, your medical mystery overachiever and discovery liaison. And today we're going to talk about Thanksgiving. Yeah, so we all have kind of different traditions and family traditions. And if you have hung out and follow us on social media, you'll have a special request from us. So for those of you that have done that, thank you. So we're really looking forward to our episode that will air on Thanksgiving. So it'll be an episode that you'll want to listen to, and it's all of our
Just heart-filled.
Yeah, our thankfuls and thank goodnesses and all the things. So if you've contributed to that, we're thankful that you have done so. And we're going to talk about how to have a fantastic holiday, enjoy all the things, and then how do we do that?
Yeah, so a lot of my patients, and I think a lot of people at this point in life are maintaining some sort of, I don't like to use the word diet because it's not, I don't mean diet in the sense of like a strict, we're trying to lose weight or for the sake of building muscle or things like that type of diet. I mean true food intolerances.
Yeah, it's a nutritional lifestyle.
Yes, where you're following a very specific nutritional lifestyle. It's a great way to put it. How do you maintain that throughout the holidays? And I think there are different layers to this, but for me personally, I'm an 80-20 ruler, kind of rule follower, where I try to focus on progress and not perfection. And that means that in an 80-20 rule, we are not striving to be absolutely perfect because that is just unachievable and unmaintainable and stressful. Yeah. And allowing ourselves to have that little cushion that's built in for things like treats or the holidays.
Mhm.
And during the holidays, that 20% might be a little bit higher than it normally is in your everyday life. But, and I think at some point we all like to indulge, whether it's for the like nostalgic aspect of the holidays or just because the food is so yummy. But it's not fun for us to do that and then feel the effects of it in the long run. For the next week, 2 weeks, we feel heavy, we get constipated. You know, it's not fun to feel those impacts or bloated.
Right.
So
when they're listening to this, because you and I just got gluten this past weekend at a time of recording. So by the time this is hitting your ears, we have still not gone through the 8 weeks to eliminate all unglutenize ourselves. So we've got the holidays coming up. So how do we navigate that and support our bodies? Because there's things that I want to eat, and I'm not going to say no, but I'm going to make sure that they're worth it.
Yes. And the other side of it is the feeling of guilt. Like you can feel a certain way physically, and then you feel guilty because you've worked so hard to maintain a certain nutritional lifestyle that you don't want to feel that pressure or that guilt of, oh my gosh, should I just ruin all the progress that I just made? Like that's not a fun mindset to be in either. So that's our focus of part of this episode, is to kind of dive through that. And one thing I will say here is pick and choose the meals and the dishes that you enjoy, but use discernment.
Right.
So for me, like we just said, it's gluten. I don't have a true, I'm not celiac or anything like that, but gluten I chose to avoid years ago because I have Hashimoto's, because I have antibodies that attack my thyroid. And I mean, back in the day, those antibodies were like over 800, and I cut out gluten. They went all the way down to 100. And so gluten, there's a direct relationship between gluten intake and kind of triggering those thyroid antibodies. So that's why I chose to start avoiding gluten. And when I do eat it, I get super tired and I get super bloated.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I then do is I say, okay, going into Thanksgiving or going into some sort of holiday, I know that about myself. I know that's a trigger. And I don't want to be miserable all day, but I do want to have a little bit of fun.
Right.
So I might choose, okay, I'm going to have a small piece of apple pie and like big, because I'm a savory person over sweet. So I might take like the stuffing or the dressing and take a big heap
Yeah.
of that, and then a small slice of apple pie, and then everything else on my plate doesn't have gluten. So I'm choosing, hey, yes, I'm going to eat these things, but I'm not going to eat them in bulk today
Right.
because I don't want to feel miserable. I don't want to have to go to sleep the rest of the day for the next
Right.
2 days.
Well, and that Thanksgiving nap is kind of a rite of passage and a good thing because you spent the last 3 days cooking it and the meal's over in 45 minutes. I wish it took as long to eat as it does to make.
Right. My question for you here is, like, for me, I can make that discernment and be okay. Where if I have just a little bit, I won't feel it. It's when I overdo it and if I ate 3 pieces of apple pie, or if I ate three, whatever, just an overabundance of gluten, then I'm out for the count. But for someone like you, who's a little more sensitive, do you use that discernment over the holidays, or do you kind of just have a moment and fill your plate with things that will make you swollen?
It's a little bit of both because so how we do the holidays, we do a whole week. So it's not just the one meal on Thanksgiving. Like if it were that, I could totally manage the rest of my week, no gluten, not worried about anything else. So if I had something that week, that for that meal, I would be fine with it. It wouldn't hurt so bad. But my brother and sister-in-law and nephews are coming up to my parents for Thanksgiving. So they're there for a week. So it's not just that one day. So, and what do my nephews want to eat? They want Coco's biscotti. So I'm usually, and they want Nana bread. And I take bread and I slather it in butter and toast it. And so it's so good. So my compromise there is that instead of putting my sauce over pasta, over noodles, I will eat a piece of bread and that's my card for my pasta. So it's limiting it, but I'm not like, oh no, I just can't eat this meal.
Right.
So, there have been times in the past where I made the bread. I smelled it so, so good. But I didn't eat it because that was my barrier of, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so they also want monkey bread, which is cinnamon rolls and sugar and like all that. So it's not even, so I think with the cinnamon rolls, it's not just the gluten, it's the processed
Sugar and yeah.
Yeah, because they come out of a can. But that makes it easy. It's convenient. They like it. So Nana makes it for them. They get to eat it once or twice a year.
Yeah.
When we're all together. I don't feel guilty about making it for them. They love it. And we also do like spicy sausage balls. So those I can make gluten-free because I can use a gluten-free pancake mix to put in. So that's been my swap there. I really haven't found a gluten-free cinnamon roll that I would want to do if I don't make it from scratch. I love them. I don't love them that much.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Yeah.
And I think that you had a good point there. I think knowing your body and where your body's at is very important. Not every body is at a point where you can do this 80-20 rule.
Right.
Because, like, if you are true celiac, right?
Please don't do this.
Please don't do this. Yeah.
You're truly allergic.
Yes. Or if you are committed and in the midst of really changing your diet, don't open that can of worms. This isn't appropriate for everybody, but I think for just the average bear who is trying to do better in everyday life, we have to allow ourselves some grace especially during the holidays, to enjoy and yes, indulge a little bit, but know your limits. Just because you're giving yourself that grace in the moment doesn't mean you have to eat 6 of the cinnamon rolls. Have half of one, have a full one. Keep it to a minimum where you're not then feeling the next day that burden physically and emotionally of like, well, blank curse word, now I have, regressed and I've just ruined everything. And now I just might as well give up my whole entire, the progress that I've started. Don't allow yourself to get to that point. So have some discernment, pick and choose the things that you really want and just have a little bit.
Because you need that soul food, you need that brain food, you need that connection to the holidays. That, hey, every year at Christmas we make these things called oh my gosh, where'd my brain go? We call them tea cakes. They're like a cross between a biscuit and a sugar
Okay,
cookie, and we
yeah.
dip them in hot cocoa, and that's what we have for dinner. And it's been a male tradition for them to make it. Well, I can't eat that all the time
Right.
but we have it for dinner the night before Christmas. So we have it on Christmas Eve. And then I go to sleep because I know if I continue, I'm going to hurt. And then the next morning is monkey bread and
All the things.
sausage balls. And then the rest of the meal the next day. So it really is, I don't want to miss out. And my family is great that they're like, hey, if you're not going to eat it, let's have another option for you, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. They're pretty good about it. I'm not going to ask my dad and my brother to make gluten-free tea cakes because
Right.
that's not going to happen. Like, I can make my gluten-free cookies and have that as a thing, but I'm not going to change family traditions so much.
No.
But I'm not going to miss out on being a part of the ceremony and all of the things anyway. So I don't feel guilty about that. You shouldn't either. If you're on a whatever the plan is, whether it's because it physically alters how you feel. Like, my joints hurt, so they have to be, if I'm going to eat gluten the next day, then I'm not going to move very much, and they got to be okay with that. So I'm not going to be out in the yard, throwing the football and being active, but I can manage.
Right.
I can be a part of the thing. It doesn't completely take me out.
And that discernment is very important, but then setting yourself up for the most success, especially if you know you're reactive to certain foods, then even if you're not, start your day off right, set yourself up for success, because we all go through that itis, called the itis,
Yeah.
after Thanksgiving meals, because we just overindulge, and that's okay. But if you're sensitive to foods, take some extra precaution here and start your day off. So many of us are like, okay, we're waking up on Christmas or Thanksgiving or any other holiday, and we're just like, oh, I'm not going to eat until a big meal because
Don't
I
do
want to
that.
be as hungry as possible. Don't do that. Right. That's where you would then overindulge more. You want to get up, get your metabolism going,
Mhm.
start your day with an awesome breakfast, high protein, good fats in there, and followed by a little, it doesn't have to be a full-blown workout. Who's working out actually on holidays?
Yeah.
I mean, some people do, but go on a walk, just get moving, do something, go outside, go on a nature walk, whatever it is. Take your dog for a walk.
Yep. Play in the yard.
Play in the yard, throw the ball around, just get moving for a little bit. And also then focus on hydration. We forget with all the good food
Yep.
on holidays to drink. Start your morning off with like some hot water with some lemon, or just some lemon water, good electrolytes, whatever it is. Stay hydrated throughout the day.
Mhm.
And then this goes for regardless if you are just overindulging and your body's not used to it, or if you truly are eating foods that you're reactive to, like Anna Kate and I are with gluten. Again, set yourself up for success. Take your probiotics in the morning and take a little bit extra of a digestive enzyme. Personally, for something like gluten, I like something called allergenza. Allergenza is basically a blend of different, it's by, I think New Medica. I think it's New Medica or Orthomolecular Products.
I can find out.
She's going to Google that right now. I'm pretty sure it's New Medica. But it's a proprietary blend of these enzymes, prebiotics and probiotics, that help to break down gluten proteins specifically. So if you're going into that day and saying, okay, I know that I am going to consume gluten specifically, or a food specifically that I'm not used to, or that I'm reactive to, prep yourself with some allergenza.
Yep. By New Medica. It's on my list.
Yes. Take that in the morning. You can take that twice, even 3 times a day. So if you're super sensitive like Anna Kate, she should be taking that 3 times a day that entire week that she's with her family.
Mhm.
I should be taking it maybe twice a day, just in the morning and at night on the one day that I'm having that gluten. And it just will help to diminish that reactivity.
Right.
And diminish the feeling of that fullness, bloating, yucky feeling, if you can help break down that gluten protein a little quicker than it normally would
Right.
in people who are reactive. So set yourself up for success there. You can do that for your kids too. Those capsules can be opened.
And try this one, because there's been some
Yeah.
other ones that I've had digestive enzymes that either they don't work for me, or I feel like, now for me, because of my situation, I don't feel like it's ever going to be 100%, but if I
No.
can reduce
Yeah.
that pain or the severity of that swelling, I'm all for it. I will do it. But there are some that I've tried in the past that had no effect.
Yeah.
So
And that's because if you can't just go get a normal digestive enzyme with like lipase in it and expect it to do anything for gluten. There's certain digestive enzymes that are great for helping to break down protein and fats, but do absolutely nothing for the gluten protein itself. So that's why I say if gluten is your, what's it called? The like where
nemesis,
yes. No, kryptonite. Ha!
that too.
I was like the heel, the Achilles, the
Yeah.
superpower, kryptonite. If that is kind of your kryptonite or it's your weakness, you want it and consume it, but you know that it doesn't do you any good, then you need a specific digestive enzyme like allergenza. It's much more than a digestive enzyme, but it's targeted for that gluten protein specifically. So I would recommend that. There are a couple other things, even in previous episodes, we talked about like immunoglobulins, like probiotics. Of course, that's just general gut health, but just don't forget it. We wake up, we get so excited
Yeah.
for the day. Just don't forget it. Don't get out of your routine that morning, within the first hour or two. You'll just feel a lot better.
Yeah. Especially if this is part of your routine, or you've introduced this in November by listening to our first episode about gut health and the gut biome, that this really continued this through, because this is what you're preparing your system to be able to handle, is this influx of really good things. And then what do you do with that week of how do you navigate that?
Yeah.
How do you be kind to yourself?
Absolutely. Other ways of kind of beating the itis, so to speak. And because again, we're very real, like we're very logical. We know that we shouldn't eat it, but we're gonna eat it because that's life and it's the holidays. But there's other things outside of, okay, take your digestive enzymes, hydrate yourself, eat in the morning, that you can do to help minimize that feeling, that itis afterwards, or the entire week. And one that I like is create a tradition with your family outside of something that involves food. So obviously the meal is a big part of it, but
Right.
create some sort of tradition outside of the food. Maybe it is like doing, each family member has to write down 5 to 10 things that they are thankful for, and then you go around and share those and just have conversations. Maybe it is like a nature walk. Maybe it is going to play football outside. Just something else outside of the meal that allows you guys to bond and hang out as a family. And and it's a good way to take time as a family and spend it in a different way that's still beneficial on a holiday,
Yep.
but not center it on the food. The other thing is we shovel food in our mouths so quickly. I get this because it is a nostalgia factor for me. So I'm like, oh my gosh, all this yummy food, I need to inhale it. Breathe, y'all. Just breathe.
Yeah.
Take some breaths, chew your food,
Yeah.
digest it. You're talking, enjoy conversation, take some breaths, eat a quarter of your plate, breathe for 60 seconds, then keep going. Don't just inhale and go for seconds and inhale and go for thirds. Take your time, enjoy the food, enjoy the conversation,
Right.
and then move on.
Yeah. And one of the things that, if you have a large extended family that comes in and everybody brings their special dish, get a dessert plate, not a dinner plate, but a dessert plate, and get a little bite of everything.
Yes.
So you can enjoy how that tastes and remember all those good things, but then you're not eating an entire piece of everything
Yeah.
that someone has brought.
Full plate.
Yeah. So make sure that you do this on a dessert plate, not on a dinner plate.
So it's just massive portions of all
Right.
food.
Right. So, and then, again, we know that a properly balanced meal is high protein,
Mhm.
lean protein, complex fat, complex carb, and fiber. So pick the stuff and maybe you bring a new dish. Maybe you start to introduce a new tradition of, I know that Y'all do Southern.
It's
Why do you?
because Will. So we do
That's
Southern
so
foods.
weird.
Yeah, because Will's parents are both from the South. Well, his dad is a great cook and he's from the South. And so Will was raised on more Southern foods. And so when he cooks for Thanksgiving, yeah, we're getting the collard greens, we're getting all of it.
I love it because
Mhm.
whenever I think about them, I think Chicago
Yeah.
and Florida.
It's two very different styles. You got
Yeah,
mom and Will cooking, and it's like two very just opposite extremes. But
but
we merge them together.
yeah, and we talk about having a diverse microbiome and a diverse thing
There we go.
to look at and to eat and all the things. So I think that's really cool. When
Yeah.
you told me that, I was like, that's weird.
Yeah,
What?
I know. It's amazing.
That now makes sense.
But the another thing also, because especially for you, like with a week, if I think we also have so many leftovers
Yeah.
after Thanksgiving that instead, like the next day, instead of making a big massive plate and just kind of redoing what you did the previous day in terms of the itis and just overindulging, food prep
Yeah.
with the meal or with the leftovers that you have, food prep and food prep in different containers, creating more balanced, smaller meals based on the leftovers that you have instead of one massive plate that you're eating
Right.
in one sitting. That's an awesome way to utilize the food that you have left, but not to avoid overindulging, kind
Right.
of like we do on the actual day of the holiday.
Right.
And the other thing I have for kind of the week around is plan family activities. Plan things to stay active. Again, maybe whatever it is, whatever it looks like to you. Like we love going outside. We love being in nature. So we'll go down and walk down the creek and explore down there. We'll go on family hikes. We'll take the dogs on the walk. We'll go on bike rides, whatever it is, but plan it out so we're avoiding the days around that holiday of just sitting inside,
Right.
continuing to eat and, watching football. Not a knock on that. We do the same thing, but
Just not the whole time.
just not the whole time. Yeah, plan other activities. It could be finger painting outside,
Yeah.
it could be whatever it is. Just plan other activities kind of around your week that you can spend time together. But you get outside, you stay active.
Yeah. And plan ahead of time. So if you can meal prep for the Thanksgiving meal or for other meals, make sure you do that. Make the mashed potatoes ahead of time. We do sweet potato casserole that we don't put marshmallows on top of ours. My mom makes a crumble, which is so good on top. I can't eat the crumble. I can eat the sweet potato though. There's all these things that help reduce the stress of, because if you're the one in the kitchen, you're snacking all day long, you're eating stuff, and then by the time dinner rolls around, you're not hungry because you've been doing all the things all day long. So what other than collard greens, what's on your your Thanksgiving dinner plate?
So growing up, my mom was always the cook. So I always crave her food around the holidays because it's just home.
Yeah.
And then I got spoiled when Will and I first started dating because he's an awesome cook too. And so we merged all the things. So my mom still cooks, he still cooks. They actually both cook turkeys and then they have competition
Oh,
because
nice.
it's so competitive of who's better. They'll make their own gravy as well. My mom makes the stuffing or the dressing. She makes cranberry. She makes mashed potatoes. Will usually makes sweet potatoes. He makes collard greens. He makes cornbread.
Yum.
So good. I know. And then he usually makes a homemade apple pie. He tried to go down the route of sweet potato pie, and I just can't do it. I don't like it. I don't want it. So it's only apple pie in my house. Thank you, husband. And then my mom does like cream spinach, cream corn. I mean, just all the food. Yeah, you should green beans. She always does green beans with almond slivers. We always have veggies in there somewhere, but it is a massive spread enough to feed an army.
Oh yeah.
And it is just so delicious.
And you need it. You need it.
It's
You need it every year.
Absolutely need it. What about you guys? What are some of your, well, you went through kind of your traditions of the different glutenized things.
Yep.
Other than that, do you guys have?
So my mom makes a turkey, and she makes, she usually will do a dressing, a gravy. Sometimes she'll make two. So she'll make a cornstarch dressing for me so I can have dressing.
Yeah.
And then we did green bean casserole a long time ago, but now she just cooks the green beans. I don't think we do casserole that much anymore. We do a full turkey and ham.
Mhm.
So when there's leftovers, like for the next day, we'll do ham sandwiches and turkey sandwiches. So, and we've gotten it down because there's 5 adults. No, 6 adults. There's 6 of us. There's 6 adults and 2 kids. When it's just our group together. So we don't make a whole lot. So there's
Yeah.
lots of leftovers. But there's enough meat like to have dinner later if you're hungry that day, and then a little bit of leftovers the next day. But it's not, a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But then we'll use the turkey to make turkey stock, or
Yeah.
the ham bone to make, my mom makes beans, and like, I don't like beans.
I could do without beans.
It's a texture thing. So she'll make a soup or something like that. I like green beans, I like chickpeas, but like my mom would make 15 bean soup, and my grandmother came up from Florida one time, and I said, Grandma, this is the best soup ever, because I wanted her to eat it so I didn't have to eat it, because I'm like, it's the texture, it's not the taste, it's the texture.
I get that. Side note, my mom has multiple times tried to change Thanksgiving to a ham, and I would boycott Thanksgiving. I'm not about it. I'm not gonna do it. Maybe Christmas, like a honey baked ham.
Yeah.
But there's got to be turkey too.
Yeah,
I can't convert.
Yeah, we do ham and turkey at both. We do a smaller ham, just because everybody likes that. And then Easter is just ham.
Right. Easter is a very ham holiday.
Yeah. But it's a holiday for ham.
Yes, I get that, but not Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So
mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes. My mom makes cornbread stuffing. And she's the only one that eats it. It's a nostalgia thing for her.
yeah.
I think Mark will eat some, my husband will eat some. But none of us eat. Like, I'll have like a bite, but again, it's got gluten in it, so I've just kind of avoided it. And then she made this sweet potato sausage stuffing one year, no gluten, because something that I could eat. So she made that for me. So I'm hoping that she and I can make that again this year, because it's really good. So, and that would be a fall thing. Like, I would make that and then put it in like a little ramekin and crisp it up, and just have that. Like, yeah.
Do you guys have any traditions outside of food?
We say what we're grateful for every year, and now that my parents are in Tennessee, we'll go outside and play with the pups and 4-wheel ride, and do all the things outside. Yeah. And the boys are a little bit older now too, so they can run around, and we'll sit out on the porch if it's cool, if it's warm enough, or be bundled up and sit out, and we'll go to what's it called, like Sea Rock City, or we'll go do something like that, which is yeah.
Okay.
So
I love this, something that we do, and we would also love to hear what you guys do.
Yeah.
too. I love learning about new traditions and things like that, but I have this big, like, massive white tablecloth, and probably the first Thanksgiving that we did was 2018, and it was just me, Ava, and Will, because Will was in fight camp and we had to stay home. Bless his soul, he still cooked like a whole spread. He couldn't eat anything.
poor baby.
But I put like Thanksgiving in the middle, and then I put the date, just the year, and we did all our handprints, like painted handprints.
Cute.
I think Ava, we did her foot actually at that time. And so then every year, what we did was, initially I was doing it with adults too, but I was like, if it's us, I'm not going to keep doing my handprint. But if it's someone new that's there, then I'll do the adult handprint and all the kids that are there. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So every year it's grown with, like, okay, then in the next year in 2019, Jackson's little footprint, baby 6-month-old footprint, was on there, and Ava's hand is a little bit bigger. And then, the following year, if there was friends that we had, or family that we had with kids who were there, we put all their handprints, or if there was other adults outside of Will and myself, we did their handprints.
So cute.
Yeah, and we just do it like in a little kind of area on the tablecloth, and I'll put the date on it. And I mean, this thing is massive, and so we have plenty of room still. And eventually I want to turn it into, I don't know, I need to protect it with something at some point when, like, that one's done. But I just love things like that. So we do that.
So cute. On one corner this year, you need to do your 2 new family editions.
Oh my
Not
gosh,
on the top. Yeah. That would be cute.
Paw prints.
Yeah.
Really cute. I really do like that. So
Yeah. So
Yeah.
plan for, if you're going to have extra, plan for your extra and plan something for your extra. So you're making this big meal, go ahead, meal prep it, like section it out, freeze it. So you have other things, use the turkey stock. If you don't have a big family, just make a chicken.
Right.
Like you don't have to do the whole big thing.
Yeah.
Celebrate, be thankful, spend time with family, or do Friendsgiving or something like that. If you do a Friendsgiving, let us know what your friends' Thanksgiving traditions are. We want to know, and we want to share all of the blessings and all of the things going forward. So there will be a special episode that airs Thanksgiving Day. So if you've participated in that, be looking and listening for what we've asked you to do. So we're really excited about that. And you'll get a special message from us on that day.
Yeah. That is all from us, you guys. We are very excited moving forward to have some expert guests come on to dive kind of deeper into gut health and all the things related. So stay tuned. But until then,
let's discover together.
We hope you've enjoyed this journey of exploration and learning as much as we have. Before you go, we have a special request for you, our beloved discoverers. We'd be thrilled if you could show your support in a few easy steps. Step 1, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss a moment of discovery. Step 2, if you're listening via Apple Podcasts, please take a moment to rate and review our show. Your feedback means the world to us and helps others discover our podcast too. Step 3, whether you're on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform, please share the Discovery Doc podcast with your friends, family, and social networks. It's the best way to spread the joy of discovery. And finally, don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Discovery Doc. Stay connected with us for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and so much more. Plus, for exclusive content and additional resources, be sure to check out our website at www.thediscoverydoc.com. And while you're there, if you have a burning question or a topic you'd like us to discuss on the show, simply let us know. Thank you, Discoverers, for being part of our incredible journey. Until next time, let's discover together.
The content provided in this podcast provides general information and discussions on various topics related to health, wellness, and medical advancements. However, it is essential to understand that the content provided in this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The hosts, guests, and contributors are individuals sharing their personal experiences, opinions, and knowledge in their respective fields. While they strive to provide accurate, up-to-date information, medical knowledge is constantly evolving, and the information presented in this podcast may not always reflect the most current research and medical guidelines. It is crucial to consult with a qualified healthcare professional or medical expert for specific medical concerns. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking medical treatment based on the information presented in this podcast. The Discovery Doc podcast encourages listeners to use their own judgment and discretion while implementing any suggestions, recommendations, or lifestyle changes discussed in this episode. Each individual's medical situation is unique and may work for one, may not be suitable or safe for another. The podcast hosts, guests, and contributors are not liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, or incidental damages or harm that may arise from listening or acting upon the information provided in this podcast. Listeners are responsible for their own health decisions and should exercise caution and seek professional guidance when necessary. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you have read, understood, and agreed to this medical disclaimer. If you have any questions or concerns about this medical disclaimer, please consult a qualified healthcare professional.